Hey friends, if you didn't know, now you know. Loud and I are hosting a giveaway. That's right. If you rate the podcast and leave a review, you will be automatically entered to win a $50 Whole Foods gift card and a signed copy of Made Whole, Made Simple, my newest book. Then, during the episodes in April, Laura and I will choose a winner from all the reviews we see online. And that winner will be announced during the episodes in April, and they will win the $50 Whole Foods gift card and a signed copy of my next book. So what does that mean for you? That means you better subscribe and leave a review. May the odds be ever in your favor. Good luck, everyone.
This is the Body Wise Podcast. Thank you for joining Laura and Christina for another intimate exploration of collective wisdom.
Welcome back to episode 4 of Body Wise Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about boundaries. Laura will not be joining us today because I am going to be here with a very special guest, my sister from another mister, Kyndra Holley. Most of you might know her from Peace, Love, and Low Carb, her best-selling book, Craveable Keto, Keto Happy Hour, 30-Minute Ketogenic Cooking, and Dairy-Free Keto. I mean, a beast. And you also have the Low Carb Paleo Kitchen, if I'm not mistaken, Primal Kitchen.
Primal Low Carb Kitchen.
Primal Low Carb Kitchen, which was your baby book many, many moons ago. So Kyndra is passionate about cooking and essential oils and non-toxic living and dogs, but mostly dogs, but also a lot of other things. And we've been good friends for a few years now. It seems like an eternity. We're always like, has it only been 2 years? But I'm really excited to talk to her today about just the shift in her business and mindset. And as this powerhouse female entrepreneur, the importance of boundaries. And it's going to be a really good conversation. I want to thank our podcast sponsor, Jasper Organics. They make amazing organic CBD and hemp products. They have a clear initiative to supply the community with the best CBD products online and in stores while providing education about proper dosage, ingredients, and benefits. Every step of their process from farming to packaging is well thought out to ensure the quality and the consistency, and I can vouch for them. I use their products daily. You can check out their website, link in the show notes, and save 15% off with code KITCHEN. So let's get rolling. Kyndra, I'm so happy we're here. We were just on the phone and we're like, we should hang up and get on the podcast.
You know, we've had so many conversations that could have been podcasts, and that's how we got to talking about us starting our own podcast, because we're like, other people should hear this. But today we're like, no, don't say anything. Hang up, like save it.
Yeah, it's true. Kitchen Table Talks, which is still in the works. She was gonna be my original podcast co-host. It was just a natural fit because we do have these like long in depth kind of, figuring shit out and like saving the world kind of conversations. But again, it didn't happen right away because you just have so much on your plate and you had a lot going on. And boundaries, man. I respect your boundaries, Kyndra.
You do, and like no other. I felt so comfortable calling you and just being like, look, I know that we're set to start this. We're like all ready to go. We had outlined everything. And I just said, I need a beat. I hope you're not upset with me, but I am trying to learn to respect my own boundaries and stop adding things to my plate. And I need to wait a bit. And you were so gracious and wonderful about it that the conversation just felt like, okay, cool. We'll do it when it fits for both of us. And it's very rare that conversations go that way. And it just felt very light and safe. And I love you.
I love you too, girlfriend. Yeah, you've had a big shift. I mean, you've built this amazing business. I mean, Kyndra's been blogging forever. I mean, your business is so well established, your website, you're everywhere. And the nature of the business has evolved so much from when you began to what it is today. And you're always saying like, I see the trends, I see them come, I see them go, but how have you adapted, and what has it meant for you as an entrepreneur to be in this business that's always kind of shape-shifting on you?
It's been an ever-evolving process of just constantly learning and growing and course correcting, but without hysteria. And that's the biggest piece. So this makes me feel like so proud, but also kind of, where did the time go? This is I'm going into my 10th year of blogging professionally as we enter 2020. And But I think the biggest thing that has made me successful is that like you said, I do watch the trends. I pay attention, but I also pay attention to what is cyclical. I'll watch a lot of people freak out. Let's just say something as simple as traffic. When the traffic dips and I'm like, okay, did it dip this time last year? School is out or school is going back in, or there's just all of these things that affect it. And I always just stay the course. Like I follow the trends and I adapt and I course correct if I need to. But for the most part, I just stay strong and steady and I keep doing what I've always done. A lot of people will abandon the thing that made them successful at the first sign of like perceived danger or unsteadiness in their business. And I think what has made me very successful is that I just forge ahead unwaveringly and I stick to what I know works, but without being like too stubborn or refusing to learn new things. It's like one of my greatest fears that I'm going to be like our parent generation when they're like, help me figure out this cell phone. What are this? I just feel so like I stay ahead of curves and trends, but like I just don't get too worked up when there's dips and, there's peaks and valleys and everything in business and in life. And it's important to stay steady.
What's that main driving force of your business? Like that one thing that you're like, I'm going to show up and do this every day. It
truly lights me up. Kind of heading into our boundaries talk here, I boxed myself in for a while, just into the food niche. Like I was known for food. I've put out 6 print cookbooks. I have like 8 ebooks. It's how I started my platform. And when I would start to share other things like essential oils or safer skincare, DIY, chemical-free home stuff, I would get some pushback and people would say, stick to food. And I would kind of retreat back into my shell. And then I would be like, how dare you say that to me? Now I'm like, I'll talk about whatever I want. You can I challenge you to liberally use the unfollow button, which I don't even think I just answered your question. I felt like I got on a tangent.
It's okay, girl. You run with it.
I don't know. It's just showing up is just easy because I love what I do. That was the initial question. Like my drive to show up and my drive to go forward it's my whole livelihood. It's how I support my family, but also I derive a great amount of joy and personal enrichment from my career. And so I always joke that on my last breath, people are going to be pulling my phone or my computer out of my cold, dead hand. And I'm not saying that's a good thing. Like I don't have a work-life balance. I'll be the first to admit it, but I just create from a place of sheer joy and passion. And I get excited. Like when I go to bed at night, I'm like super excited to get up and work on whatever I'm working on. And I'm really excited to get up and have coffee. So sometimes it's hard to go to sleep because I'm already excited about the next day.
That's amazing. And I mean, I haven't met many people who love food and love cooking as much as I do. And you're one of them. It's a pleasure to see you create. And talking about like, she's up in there in stories, like she's always making stuff on you. You're so consistent. Like I will say consistency is like your superpower. You are cooking all the time, constantly on stories. You're so good at explaining stuff. Like you were a teacher in another life or something. And even with the DIY stuff and essential oil stuff, or even the makeup stuff, you have a phenomenal way of sharing what you love. It is so natural. I mean, this is definitely your calling. I love watching your work.
Thank you. I just love it. And so if I get really like lit up about something, I want to share it. And then it comes just really naturally and organically. And I'm also mindful of how I'm being marketed to. And so it's important to me that I always let people know I only talk about or share things that I truly love.
Right.
And I always try to give more, like I even made a joke the other day, like I was cooking something and then I was talking about a product that I love and it was an affiliate link, which I always disclose. And then I was like, wow, that was like watching a cooking show. And that was just the commercial break that I gave you guys, because right. I don't, this is my business and this is my livelihood, but there's a lot of fun ways that we can monetize as bloggers while still giving away an amazing amount of free content. Right. So when people don't realize they're getting everything for free and then they complain, you're just like, who are you? And like, how do you not get this? But food, like the one thing that you and I have in common, food just lights me up. Like if I'm feeling stressed or sad or angry, I just want to take it to the kitchen. It's like my therapy. Yeah. And sharing and explaining and, you're saying like being a teacher in another life. I think it's just that I am an extremely organized person, and every area of my life, like my whole book writing process, I showed a lot of the behind the scenes of that, or even like mise en place in the kitchen or how clean I keep my house. I believe that physical clutter equates to emotional and mental clutter. And so I keep everything very organized and free of clutter, virtual and physical, because the amount of stuff I do in any one day that house of cards would come crumbling down if I was disorganized. So the key to every single thing I do is organization. Plus, I'm a weirdo, and cleaning and organizing lights me up too.
That is strange. Justin would love that. We always joke that like Kyndra and my husband are very much alike, and John, her husband, and I are a lot alike, which is funny.
But it's not surprising that you and I are such good friends as a result.
Absolutely. I know we are very complementary. I mean, I'm not messy, but I'm definitely more thrive in chaos type of gal. Yeah.
You're like pedal to the metal. We'll figure it out later.
Exactly. I'm like, jump first. I'll grow wings, whatever. No big deal. But okay, you have this massive platform because of this, because of your consistency and the amazing content that you create. And I mean, it is, again, mind-blowing when you think of how much content you produced over the last 10 years. And yeah, you just said it, so much free stuff. I mean, literally giving away thousands and thousands and thousands worth of dollars worth. I mean, you could have, like, your blog itself could be the equivalent of several books, you know?
Oh yeah.
But with that kind of platform and the amount of blog traffic you get and your social media platforms, which are all really big, there comes a lot of exposure to people, to the world. And I know that that's something that's driven you it's had to change your relationship with your audience and with yourself for your own, like, essentially like mental health, emotional well-being. And I want to dive into that because it's so prevalent. And I think bloggers are scared to talk about it because we don't want to offend people, because it's kind of like I think of like gladiators, like the mercy of the crowd, you know? And in a sense we are, but we are human. And we need to like not go crazy while we make a living. And I'd love for you to tell us about the shifts you've made and why you made them, and how you manage that.
You know, this has been a real learning curve for me too, because early on, I would take everything very personally. And that's the first thing. You can't take it personally. And some days that's really easy now. Some days it's like, I literally laugh, or like, I'll send you a screenshot, like, look what this person said. Like, and then other days just, I don't know, maybe it's being a female and it's my cycle, or maybe it's just too much exposure all at once. But some days it brings me to my knees because I'm only human. And, you know, I call them keyboard cowboys, things that people will say behind a screen or behind a keyboard. And like some horrible, horrible things about me, about my family, they have attacked every single part of my appearance. I got on an Instagram live one time and I was just talking to the camera and someone asked if I was having a stroke right in that moment. And I couldn't even continue my live. Like I was just shook. Like I can't. And so now like I only go on stories and I'm just like, I don't want to deal or subject it's not that I'm afraid to do live videos, but again, like that was a boundary I set up for myself. Like I'm not going to go on a live video when I have a message that I want to say, have somebody say something horribly rude and have it shake me from the mission at hand. You know what I mean? So like, I just don't really do live videos anymore. And I don't enjoy it. It's not entirely just like one mean comment, but you know, like can I swear on this? Or
yeah, go for it.
I literally got an email one time that just said, fuck you. Like someone took the time to email me just to say, fuck you to me. Like I've been called fat a million times. My integrity has been called into question. Someone called me a grifter, which is like the most laughable thing you could ever call. Call me, like, I can honestly say when I lay my head down at the end of the day that I work harder than anybody that I know, and that I always try to give more than I take. And I always try to add value to every situation, every conversation, every interaction. And so it just gets really hard. And I used to fight back with every single person, like, oh yeah, I'll show you, like, I'm going to get, because man, I can verbally bitch slap like no one else. Like, and so I was like, okay, you're going to feel my wrath now with your stupid little comment. And then I just realized I wasn't serving myself to sit there and fight back, because I could say, okay, I could go one of two routes. I can say, let's stand back from this and really unpack this. This is not about me. This has nothing to do with me. This is not a reflection of my worth as a person, as an entrepreneur. This has no bearing on me. They're projecting onto me. And I can rationally say, yes, it kind of stung. And then oftentimes I would realize, if it stung so bad, is there a modicum of truth to it? You know, so then I would have to unpack, why am I upset? Am I upset because someone was just so mean? Or am I upset because there was a tiny bit of truth that might uncover an area I could work on? And so when I started looking at it from there and really saying, okay, this holds no truth. Okay, bye, delete, block. If this stings because there's some truth, how can I learn and grow from this? And that was really eye-opening, but it's really hard transition to make, instead of just being crushed and so upset and why me and feeling sad. And I'm not going to share my life anymore because, you know, above and beyond all the resources I share our life. my Instagram is basically a reality show for me and John and the pubs. The only thing I don't share is the kids, you know? And so it's just really that lesson of just saying, is this about me? What can I take from this? What can I learn? And if it's nothing, just delete, block, and move on. Like, I don't fight back. Or if I do now, it will be like a small clack back just to be like, I'm not going to take this. Or, you know, have some manners. Like, I will call people on their BS, but I won't sit and feed the trolls and fight and fight. But I don't think that people realize how much we face it or encounter it. Or for every one we might screenshot and share in stories, there were 100 others that came in. And it's every single day. Like, just a couple of weeks ago, someone told me that my eyebrows were insane. And I'm like, okay, this is just an attribute on my face. Thanks. You know, okay, am I supposed to feel good about that? And you came here to tell me that. And there's this whole like trolling subset of people. Like, I'm not even going to say the website's name to give them any credit, but there are entire websites dedicated to bashing bloggers, health and wellness bloggers, food bloggers. And I made the mistake of going to one of those sites about 2 years ago. And that really took me down. That was hard to bounce back from, because I saw like they just rip apart. Like, they might as well have been talking about the Kardashians and not me, but they were talking about me as if I was not a person, and like just tearing down areas that I had never even had a chance to feel insecure about. And then I left it like just feeling destroyed. So it's hard to navigate. But like the process I go through that I described of, is this about me? What can I do? What can I learn? I mean, it's a practice, definitely. And it's something I have to do every day. And how good I am at it depends on my mood, but also how much trolling I have faced around that time.
Right.
It's every single day. It's every day.
It can chip away at someone. I mean, everyone has weeks. I have weeks where I'll text you. Actually, we call each other a lot to vent about this, but yeah, sometimes you're just like, you get into those, I can't take people anymore. And sometimes it's not even like necessarily negative comments, but I feel like one of the things that we need to set boundaries with online, or there's not enough exercising of boundaries, is with entitlement of, I'm creating something, I'm giving you something for free. I'm giving you a link, but people are like, they want it now. They want it in their hand. They want the whole recipe in the feed on Instagram. Going to the link is too much work, or they want to know all the details. Or I cook a lot on stories, but not necessarily from recipes. And then of course we get the ever popular recipe question mark, like not even a full sentence. Like, that's kind of rude. And the first 100 times it happens, you might not bother you, but once you've been doing this for a while and you get to like that, 1 millionth recipe question mark, it starts to give you like a little eye twitch. You're like, like what?
Yeah, I'm a decade in. Recipe question mark now will get you blocked. Like, I just don't even have the time. I'm not going to teach you how to use the internet or be a nice person. And also, don't treat me like Google. Like, the thing that kills me too, and I've started calling people out on this a lot, and I don't do it to be rude. I do it to teach them something, and hopefully they don't do it again. But the amount of people that will DM us a question or leave a question in comments that they literally could have typed into a search engine and got 4 billion results immediately, that's crazy. Like, that's entitlement all in its, and then like saying, oh, obviously you don't answer your DMs. No, you just treated me like Google.
Right. Right. Well, it's a hard situation navigating boundaries on the internet, especially because people do have that, and they assume that you're rude. I mean, I was even having an interaction with someone that could potentially, like a colleague, like another NTP. And they were asking me so many questions. They wanted me to collaborate on something, to the point where I'm like, okay, you're not being respectful of my time at this point, right? Like, I keep saying, if you want to know more about my recipes, look up my website. And then they kept asking. And then finally I gave them advice on like using eJunkie as like a, to sell this bundle they wanted to sell. And then they said, can you send me the link? And I was like, I don't have an affiliate link. They're like, no, just like to the website. And I didn't respond. And then they didn't ever respond back to me again. But in my head, I'm like, I would have to go to Google and Google eJunkie to get you that link. Why can't you just go to Google and Google eJunkie? Like, I think that there is that. And I would have had to normally, like, I would have felt really insecure about that transaction. And I would have been like, oh, I have to explain myself, or I have to go back and get them the link. And I have been like, boundaries. It's okay. I don't have to, like, I'm a grown-up. She's a grown-up. I don't have to explain everything to them. I don't have to spell it out for them. I don't owe that to anybody. I gave her a lot of my time. And I think a lot, this holistic psychologist, I'm sure you follow her too. We all love her.
Oh, yeah.
But she talks a lot about like the ego versus like the hurt child kind of, ego versus getting over that. And her work has definitely helped me not clap back every time, not lose my patience, but essentially just say, I'm not giving this transaction any more energy. I'm walking away.
Well, yeah. And I also think you just kind of like, I'm proud of you in that regard, because that's been an area of growth I've really seen in you, because you were inclined to give more than you ever should. Like that's your
Nature.
preset, to give. But it kind of brings me to another point. I think a lot of times people think that boundaries have to be this huge public declaration, and they don't. Like, you have to, like, I set very clear and concise boundaries for myself, but I often exercise them through my actions and not my words. So like, what you did there by just stopping responding, that's a pretty hard boundary right there, like not responding. And it's, I've had people push back on my own boundaries by saying, you should do this, you should do this, you should say this, you should establish this. And I'm like, but don't you see that I just did by cutting it off? It doesn't have to be a public declaration. It's one of those times where actions speak louder than words. And, I've had friends argue, well, no, that's avoidance. And I'm like, no, it's a pretty clear message where I'm not avoiding anything. Like, for example, take the DM feature on Instagram. If I feel like people are abusing it, or if I just feel overwhelmed by the sheer volume of messages that I'm getting on any given day, I just turn the feature off. I don't go on my stories and make a public declaration telling people to stop messaging me, telling people to look stuff up for themselves. Like, you can set boundaries and still be kind, and you can set them silently. Establishing boundaries doesn't have to chase people off. You don't have to berate people, point fingers, or alienate them. And it also does not have to be a huge public declarations. Let your actions speak. So like, I will just turn my DMs off, or like you said, I will stop responding. Like, not everything has to be this big, standing at a podium shouting, I will not take this, I will accept this.
Right.
Just use your actions and exercise your boundaries by, showing what you will and will not accept for yourself. And I practice that a lot. A lot of mine aren't public declarations. A lot of times it's as simple as cutting off access to me, because I can't have the mental space to continue creating if I am bombarded and overwhelmed. So I just shut it down.
It's a quick way to burn out 100%, and people do have a lot of access to us. And even like for our listeners, like this is so relatable to everyday life, because everyone has these relationships, whether it's a coworker, maybe someone in your family. It could even be a dynamic, maybe with some of your children, like where there aren't clear boundaries, and it's harder in a situation where there's already an existing relationship, and then you give a little, and then they keep taking and taking and taking, and you realize that this is a bottomless pit of someone who's going to need, more of your time, more information, more support without any reciprocation. And I think that that's one of the especially women. A lot of us are like programmed to think that that's what we have to do, that we always have to be these givers, these nurturers 24/7 to like everyone, like not just our family, but everyone in our lives. And I don't think that's fair. I think it's such a depleting place to be, where you're just always on the giving end of your time, of your sanity, of your, whatever way that is, whether you're giving people information or giving people advice or just lending an ear or physically caring for someone. But it's, like nonstop. And it comes to a point where like, you just feel like resentment. I think when you start feeling resentment is a good, like, that's a red flag. Like, you've gone too far. Like, this relationship is no longer healthy. It's not a two-way street.
I've had that, and you bring up such a good point too, because it is hard when you're navigating personal relationships, because you will often let those people go past the boundaries you would set for a stranger, but that's one of the areas where I've had a lot of growth. And I would say the last year to 18 months is setting up boundaries around my personal time and space, and being very selective about who I'll give my energy to and my time and my resources. Because I used to really suffer from what I called wounded bird syndrome. I would bring people home like, oh, you need a place to stay? You can stay with me. Oh, like I wanted to like fix the world. And while I still have a bleeding heart in a lot of areas, I'm very selective about who I will give that time or energy to. And I'm very cognizant of reciprocal relationships. Like, I don't have to stand to gain from anybody, but I need to know that they're contributing from my life and not just chipping away at me. And so my circle is very, very small. And I always joke and say, like, not taking applications for new friends. So when I like in adulthood meet a new friend, and like even you, for example, like, sorry, closing up shop here, like, we have no positions full. And then you meet somebody who's wonderful and surprises you. And in adulthood, that feels extra special, I think, because it's hard to navigate relationships and make new friends as adults, but I am very giving of the things that I create, but I am very selfish with my personal time and who I allow into my circle. And it's kind of a funny dynamic because online people assume they know everything about me. Like I can't even tell you the number of the people on social media that could tell you the name of every single one of my dogs. Like they could tell you where I bought my furniture. Like they could tell you step by step of my remodel because I share so much, but I can tell you unequivocally, they don't know me. They don't, they know the parts that are out there, which is a great deal. I will say I share way more than the average person without oversharing and being gross. But, like my goal with this is to preserve space and time for myself, but to help bring back some connection, because I feel like, and I said this a lot on my talks on my book tour, that in a time where we're supposed to be more connected than ever, there's never been a bigger disconnect in humanity. And, we're in this swipe, click, like, DM, scroll culture, and it's not real. None of it's real. So in my little tiny corner of the interwebs, I try to bring back some community and connection by sharing just those lifetime moments, or just being like, today's a hard day, or today's a wonderful day, or, I don't know. I just want to share and give connection, but, while still having boundaries around my time and space.
Yeah, it's hard to do. I mean, and I agree that people lack connection. And I even noticed, like, while my account is bigger than it used to be, I have less meaningful conversations in DMs. Like I used to have a lot more. I have a few of my regulars, which I sorely like people that like we talk all the time, but I used to get a lot more like legitimate, like good questions and back and forth, and have a lot better interactions on my social media feed, where now everything is all about is a lot more shorter, and I don't know if people just assume that like I don't want to talk, as and then a lot of people are like, I'm sorry, I know you're busy. And I'm like, I know, but I'm here. Like if my DMs are open, I'm open for conversation as long as you're using full sentences,
If someone thinks you don't want to talk, then they definitely don't know you.
They definitely don't know me. True story. Yeah. And now with the voice memo things, people are always really surprised that I voice memo them back, because it's so much faster than typing. And, give me a mic, let's go. People are like, oh, that's so nice. But yeah, I think it's a little different these days. It's even in the 5 years I've been doing this, it's changed a lot. The way people interact. Someone just commented on a post of mine from over a year ago when we were leaving Hawaii, and it was my post saying goodbye to my kitchen. And there was over 3,000 likes and all these comments, and they were so personal, and people would really they knew about my time in Hawaii and my story. And I'm like, where are those people? I don't know if I even see them on my feed anymore. I miss that sense of family,
When someone comes through with a callback to something later in my life, and I know they've been around for a while, that makes me feel good, because, the amount of questions or comments we get every day, it's just constant proof that the circle is always changing, that someone that's here today wasn't there yesterday and they don't know anything about you. And, in some regards, we're explaining the same things over and over and over. But when someone can really recall something that you talked about a long time ago that was personal, that feels really good. But it also reminds me of there was a meme that was going around, and it's like Jason, standing with the mask on, standing by a bush, and then the caption said, "How you look when you like a 54-week-old photo."
You've been scrolling.
Yes, but there's there should be no shame in it, but there's that weird moment of shame if you accidentally like something that's super old. You're like, oh, they know I was digging.
Yeah, someone did that. They commented this is where the magic all started. And I just thought it was so beautiful, because it was about this time last year or the year before when we were leaving Hawaii, and I was Made Whole it was in May of 2018, and it was Made Whole was going to come out. And anyway, I was for a second, I was I remember that sense of my people that I had. And I don't know, even though I have more people following me now, it doesn't feel as personal. I almost miss that. We talk about it a lot. We're I would give up, 100,000 followers just to have the 10 that are ride or die every day, right? Having a small but solid crew would be my dream, because I feel their boundaries would be so authentic. We would have to be resetting them or stating them over and over again.
Well, and for you, I think it's especially important to feel that sense of community online, because as a military spouse, you're moving all the time and you're constantly making connections, and then they're over before you can even really forge them. So having that online, I can see where that is tenfold for you, where you just crave someone to know what you're about, or to have been around for a while, because you're always moving. Always.
Well, something you and I have in common is that people see us now, and I think that it's hard because we work in the health and wellness space, that it's I tell people, I'm like, you don't even know, like, you don't like the Christina 10 years ago, like the girl who was binge drinking or who dabbled in drugs or who did the Miami like night scene and like really came out like a sordid past essentially. Like, you think giving up gluten was a big deal? Like, I used to smoke cigarettes and drink alcohol every day and like do drugs. Like, what? Like, gluten was nothing. Like, and people don't know that about me. They assume they're like, this was chili cheese fries at 3 a.m, like every weekend, hammered. And it's not the kind of thing you want to tell people when you first meet them, right? And so I don't know, something you and I kind of had in common, right? And we got to bond over that a lot. But it is hard making the new connection and retelling the story, you know?
It is. And I mean, it's so crazy how similar our life paths were. And, when you were here for your book tour and we really got to spend a few days together, like I just remember being up in our upstairs TV room and really talking about some things that happened like in our teens and 20s and being like, we lived the same life on different coasts. But, and people they don't know your heart unless you share. And so, but at the same time, you're like, I can't say this over and over and this isn't my story anymore. I have this school of thought, where you can take your life experiences and you can use them to propel you forward to be a better person and to learn from them. Or you can lean into them and use them as excuses to be a social deviant. And neither of us did that. So like occasionally I'll do like introductory posts about myself or 10 things about me on my Instagram, and people are blown away because I feel like I've lived a million different lives. I spent my late teens and midway through my 20s, probably 7 years, with an extremely bad gambling addiction. Like it literally almost took my life. No one would know that about me now.
No.
Like I've shared it once on Instagram, but if they didn't see that post, if the algorithm didn't show it, they would never see that I spent 7 to 8 years gambling every day. And the only reason I worked was to get money to gamble. Like I lied, I stole, I cheated. Like I was a horrible person because I was overcome by this addiction. And, people don't know that. They don't know your life story like you. Like, I only quit smoking cigarettes 7 years ago. Like, I was already peace, love, and low carb before I even quit smoking. I like binge drinking every single night. Like, I mean, I can still throw back, don't get me wrong. But like drugs and cigarettes and like just no regard for what I was eating. Like, food might have had as well not even had labels on it because I was eating such Frankenfood. So like, we share these experiences and people, they don't know that. So like when people comment, oh, must be nice to afford grass-fed meat. You be like, do you want to know where I came from? Or do you want to know the number of things that we give up? Like, do you know one of the reasons I quit smoking was because I got into CrossFit. I was still smoking when I started CrossFit. But number one, I couldn't smoke and be a CrossFitter. It was not possible. But also the money that I was spending on cigarettes, I needed that to pay for my CrossFit membership. Right. So I made choices. So like when people dig on us for like, oh, we've never, this is another area that we have in common. And I think we've provided a safe place for people to land because we've never been the paleo police or the keto police. It's always just do the best you can with what you have at any given time. But I do think backstories like that, maybe on Kitchen Table Talks, when we finally launch it, we can go more into our backstories because there's a lot of lessons and a lot of gems there for how you can carry yourself through life and how you're not a victim of your circumstances.
100%. And there's always choices. And I know people are like, well, that's elitist to say. Cause like I did a post on like, the oils and how vegetable oils are bad. And I'm like, if you know what we gave up to spend the money we do on food, like when I first changed my diet, we were a single income military family stationed in Hawaii. Like I was shopping at the base commissary. I mean, I wasn't buying organic. I was buying whatever I could, but I did still buy the coconut oil instead of the canola oil. And I didn't get a manicure or a pedicure for probably 3 years. I didn't get my hair cut. I didn't go to salon. I didn't buy new clothes. We don't eat out at restaurants. We stopped smoking. Well, we both stopped smoking like a long time ago, but also stopped drinking alcohol. Like there's so many other things that we gave up to then be able to afford this and allocated every last penny we had toward healthy food and the things that would make us healthier. And we continue to make those choices and we're just happy that way. We live simply, but people assume that it's like no big deal, and even if let's say like my dad owns a butcher shop, right? And it's in more of a low income area and a lot of his customers, they pay with food stamps, but the store has produce and meat and different kinds of cooking fats and oils, and there's butter and you can buy the butter instead of the canola. And, food stamps, even that like covers it covers real food too. It doesn't have to be the box thing. You can stick to the meat that's on sale, to the canned sardines, super nutrient dense, dirt cheap, cabbage instead of getting like bok choy. There's always a choice, and you make those choices long enough, and then guess what? You'll stop spending as much money on medication, or there's another area of your life where you'll earn it back, right?
And we did the same thing. So like when we really started following or like paying close attention to the quality of food and like really trying to buy better, more nutrient dense foods, we canceled our cable, and bam, we found almost 200 extra bucks a month because, and then we didn't have cable, and then we found the money, and then we stopped going out for coffee, which was between the two of us, like a $12 to $15 a day habit. Like, if you really want it, you'll find the money. And when people say that it's elitist or it must be nice, I used to have a lot of sympathy there, and I used to feel bad and say like, oh gosh, am I like not spreading the message in a way that's relatable to everybody? And then I really just kind of hardened up about that a bit, because if you want it, you will make it happen. And there is a way. There is room in every single budget to cut something, even if it's literally pennies. Like there is something that you're indulging in every income range. And I know that some people would argue back with that, but I really think if anybody did a critical look there, even if it was $1, like there is, $1 you could get a head of lettuce. Like,
yeah, I
just think there's always room if you're critical and honest about your finances. And what you can give up and how bad you want it. Like how bad do you want to eat healthier?
And education. Like, yes, some people they don't know. So they wouldn't know to do better. And I think that's definitely a piece, but right. I mean, Walmart is carrying phenomenal products right now. There's so many options. There's many options in the cooking aisle, even with the groceries. And there are places that are like food deserts in like inner cities. And that's a bigger political issue. But if there's a Kroger or a Walmart in your area or an Aldi, like, yeah, there's definitely some wiggle room there. And I agree. I think people like to judge us. Again, going back to like just being judged in general, you put your life out there, you're going to get judged. And yes, it's a conscious choice we make to put our life out there, but we don't do what we do because we like to be in the public eye. We do what we do because we love to help people. I really think that's at the root. Anyone who does this loves to help people, because you give away the cow and I still you give away the milk and then hope that someone buys a piece of the cow. And that's how we make a living.
Yeah, I mean, I would say most people do. Some people love money more than they love helping people. But for me, like, I feel like my joy of creating and my love of helping people, it's kind of like if you build it, they will come. The income comes with that. So while income comes in, like while I can monetize every passion I have, it's not the money isn't what fuels my passion. The passion is what brings in the money.
All right.
That's like a whole different issue. But another, like, I like how this turned into like such different topics than boundary setting. But in both of my, like in craveable and in dairy-free keto cooking, there are huge sections about how to stretch your grocery budget. And, a lot of it is just getting creative too, like leaning on coupons, being willing to shop multiple stores, being willing to shop the sales. Like John and I, when we would constantly go to that section in the grocery store. And this is like as recently as 3 years ago. And sometimes I'll still do it. I mean, all my meat now comes from Butcher Box, but if I was going to go to the store for something, I will literally look at the meat that they marked down, because unless it looks brown or funky, I will always buy the discounted meat. Always. Sure. Like I'm not too proud for that. Like I will go to multiple stores. I like, if the ingredient labels are the same or close and it's clean, I don't care about any kind of brand name or, and it's always about doing the best you can with what you have. Organic, yeah, I'll go for it. But if it's like crazy expensive, I'll get non-organic. And, Amazon buying Whole Foods was like the best thing ever, because if you shop Prime Pantry for the 365 line, which almost all of it is organic, it's insanely cheap. Like it is cheaper than any of our local, even our discount grocery stores. And then it comes right to your house. And so there are a lot of ways to like stretch the budget and find you have to be willing to put in some time as well as effort. Like I said, clipping coupons, shopping the sales, going to multiple stores, because not every store is going to have the best deal on everything, but there's options.
I mean, for sure. I go to a few stores, like there's Wegmans here is pretty big and it's close to me, but Wegmans is actually more expensive than Whole Foods. So I'll make the hike to Whole Foods. And then we just closed down the house and like feeling it, like things. So we're definitely tightening the reins financially. And so I went to Trader Joe's because I'm like, you know what? I got a Butcher Box delivery. I have some produce left over. What I need is like that stuff that adds up real fast, like cooking oil, vinegar, like Jack's snacks for his lunch, like that stuff is like always the most expensive. But Trader Joe's is so affordable in that regard. I always read labels because not all their stuff is good. But yeah, it's like I made the hike down there. I went to Aldi and I was like, I just did groceries for half the price of normal that I normally do just by shopping around. And, yeah, I think no one's above budgeting, man. Like we can all save money somewhere.
And you can even tie that into the boundary conversation too, because a lot of people say yes out of guilt. So it's like, don't go to Friday happy hour, say no to Friday happy hour. And there's some extra money, but a lot of times it comes from not being able to say no. So you're spending money that you wouldn't normally spend that can go towards healthier lifestyle things that you want. If you can set those boundaries around saying no when you mean no and yes when you mean yes, and then never making sure that when you say yes, it's never saying no to yourself. Because I used to do that. I used to say yes a lot, and that yes came at a no to myself at a personal price. And so if to tie that into the boundaries, like being able to say no is going to find some money in your budget too. It sounds weird and unrelated, but it's not.
No, I'm sitting here like, oh my gosh, yes. Like it goes into the, like, don't go into debt buying people Christmas presents, y'all. Like don't go. I was that girl in my 20s. And so I'm from Miami, man, which is like, everyone loves to show up big in Miami. Everyone likes to party. Everyone likes to be flashy. I went into debt in college. I went into debt and it wasn't paying for college because it was paid for. I went into debt because I didn't know. I felt like, as a people pleaser, reformed. But back then I was like, take the shirt off my back for anyone else. But I wouldn't say no to any birthday party. I'd show up and buy a present. I couldn't say no to going out for drinks or dinner. If we went out, I'd want to buy everyone around. Like it was insane. Like I didn't know how to put boundaries because I was just so caught up in always and wanting to be liked and being fun Christy, party Christy, that I spent a fortune on going out. And when we stopped going out, I'm like, oh, there we go. I found a small, and I remember when I finally was like, my New Year's resolution was, I'm not using my credit. I cut up all my credit cards and I said, I'm not using any credit. And I didn't use any credit for years. I paid everything off. And I only use my debit card. And then I only got a business credit card with the Castaway Kitchen. And I only use it for work stuff. And that's it, because that was a boundary I set with myself. Because I'm like, no, I'm not going into debt again just to show face. Like that's absurd. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, you go out for a night of drinks with your friends. If you're in an expensive like Miami, you can drop $200 at a bar at a blink of an eye. That's 2 rounds of like 8 or 9 people. It's insane. Like literally $20 a cocktail. What?
And a lot of that, like you're saying, a lot of that comes from like shame and unworthiness and, wanting to be liked and things like that. And it makes it so hard too, because I remember, one time I posted on Instagram and I had seen someone else do it. And I was like, I really like this. It was a dangerous thing, but it turned out to be really uplifting for me. Popping up a question box and saying, what are some things you assume about me?
Ooh.
Which in the wrong climate is very dangerous, but everyone was so nice. And one of the things that someone had said, I assume that you have a lot of money and that you're well off. And I was like, let me tell you some things, right? Because I would feel so like, I would have like the people close to me, like just going back for a second before we go forward to that again, I would have a hard time telling people that I love close to me, no, that I couldn't do things that I couldn't afford because number one, I didn't want to admit it, but I wanted to be with them, so like, even if it wasn't impressing, like I wanted, like my very best friend, she would always want to go get pedicures. And I'm like, I can't. And instead of saying I can't, because I literally couldn't afford it, I would say, I would just make up things that I was doing. Like I'm busy that day. Maybe someday our schedules will line up, but I would just lie all the time. And because I felt so bad that I couldn't, and I just couldn't afford it. And then one day I was finally just like, you have to stop asking me this. It kills me inside every time I have to tell you no. I cannot afford it. Getting a pedicure is not a luxury that I can afford. And then like, John and I had so much financial hardship. There were times when as a couple, like as a married couple, we would literally cry together because we did not know how we were going to get groceries for the kids. Or we're like, okay, if we don't pay the electric bill, they won't shut that off right away. So we can pay the water because the water will get shut off before the electric. And, that goes back to those things that people don't know about you. So they make all these assumptions, not knowing where you've been or like the hardship that you've had. And those are the kind of things we don't have to describe. But it's like, so now if I post, I'm using all grass-fed meat from Butcher Box. I'm buying organic produce. I'm taking my reusable produce bags to the store. I'm proud of all of that because I came from nothing. I was at nothing in most of my 30s. And it wasn't even until my late 30s that I was financially comfortable, let alone afford to buy healthy food. So when people make those assumptions, it's just funny. But like, then, you know, going to the boundaries, like, do I set a boundary and say, no, you don't know this about me? Or do I explain the error of how their assumption is wrong? You know what I'm saying? Just,
I mean, I think people need to mind their own business in a sense. Like, first of all, let's say you have like, you should never be ashamed of where you came from. Like, and you
no,
should
I'm
never
not.
be,
I'm not.
and you should never be ashamed of what you've accomplished. Like, people making you feel bad for being successful is absurd to me. Like, you're supposed to do all this work and then like still be struggling. Like, why would anyone wish that on anyone else? Like, I find that it's such a weird notion.
And it's jealousy, like, but success shaming is a real thing. Like, it is, you know, I have had some extreme financial hardship all throughout my life. I was never taught about money. I was never taught to balance a checkbook. There was no college fund for me. Like, I moved out on my own at 15. I'm a high school dropout, but look what I've built, you know. It's just, so when you have some success, so even for example, one of my like hardest moments on the internet in a time that I thought my audience would rise up and congratulate me was 2 years ago. I bought the car that I had been dreaming about since I was 18 years old. It wasn't for like prestige. It wasn't like a status thing. That was literally the car that I had my eyes on since I was 18. Just that girl who was a dreamer, who wanted to buy it brand new and walk into the dealership, and who just worked for that. Like, it was a stretch goal that took me 20 years to realize. Unwaveringly for 20 years, that was the vehicle that I wanted. And I posted about it and I was so happy. And in my post, none of my post was about the car. It was about having a dream, setting a dream, having a goal, realizing it, working to achieve it, like unwaveringly heading always in the direction of that dream, and the dream not even being the car. It was just talking about hard work and its success, and like not letting the confines of your upbringing define you and things like that. And I
got slammed.
I got slammed so bad. Then people took it offline and they took it to Amazon and they started trashing my book. And it's so like, then the person I blocked on Instagram, she wouldn't stop. She started another Instagram account and kept in. When I blocked that Instagram account, she recruited a whole army of people to leave 1-star reviews on my books. Amazon caught on because they all came in too fast and they ended up taking them down. Then she started emailing me, like she literally would not stop. And then she just said, I don't need to know that my hard-earned money went towards a book for you to buy a luxury car and brag about it on the internet. And I was like, if you think I'm bragging, or if you think my post was about that car, you don't know me at all. Also, if you buy my book and I use that money to buy groceries for my family, is that okay? Because every purchase you make is padding someone's pocket. When you buy groceries, you're lining some like corporate bigwig's pocket.
If you shop at Amazon, you're lining a billionaire's pocket who evaded taxes. Like, hello, we all do it.
Yeah. So, but would it be okay if I spent my royalty check on groceries to make free recipes for you? Is that okay? Like dance monkey dance. So I don't know, we've gotten really off topic here. We've covered what could be 10 different full shows all on their own.
We'll run with it. But I remember that post. That was a really
I was devastated.
You were devastated. That was a really hard week for you. I mean, I sometimes struggle with sharing my successes because I don't want, people have always been like, they like that I'm relatable, and I am relatable, but even if I've had success, like I grew my business from nothing. Like literally I had no income for 2 years as a stay-at-home mom with Jack. And I started the Castaway Kitchen with no business plan. It was a hobby blog that ended up taking all of my time. And then one company paid me to do a thing. And I was like, oh, hold on, what? I can make a living doing this? And I was super late to the game with Pinterest, with getting a website. I mean, all this stuff. And I feel like I made every mistake in the book, but I grew it to a 6-figure business. And even then, because there's so many costs involved with this, like, so net, it still sometimes seems like, oh my gosh, like, when am I going to get to the point where I'm like coasting? But I'm like, wow, that's really impressive. Like in 5 years to grow something and that changes our life. It has been life-changing for my family, but I do sometimes fear sharing that because people want me to be down in the trenches with them. And I am. I mean, I've went there. Like, it's the same way of like, if you lose the weight, if you get your disease in remission, if you, half the people are going to find it inspirational and half the people are going to be triggered by it. So like, but you can't pander to everyone. I feel like you just got to like own your story and put it out there. And like, people have to be aware of their own shit, their own baggage. Cause those who get offended by your success, it says nothing about you. It's a reflection of them,
Yeah, you use the exact verbiage that I was thinking, down in the trenches. People want to know that you're down in the trenches with them. And when like you use like such great examples, like if you have weight to lose and you lose that weight, or if you put a disease into remission, or if you have financial problems and you find financial freedom, or just any level of success, you're no longer relatable. But the thing is that it took me a long time to learn those aren't my people.
Right.
My people, using the words of Oprah, God, I love Oprah and Brene, but using the words of Oprah, my people are going to root for my rise. My people are going to know where I've come from. They're going to see the value of what I give, what I create. They're going to know my heart. Those are my people. And so, but it's hard because I have faced some of the worst comments imaginable, not even just surrounding that car thing, but like that was bad enough. I deleted my Instagram for a while.
I remember.
Yeah.
What's that Brene Brown in the arena? That's a good one too. That's so relevant.
Yeah, it's actually a Theodore Roosevelt quote that she
Okay.
uses a lot for the man in the arena. But basically, it's like if you're not down there fighting with us, you don't get a vote. Is like the short.
Right.
But
right.
Yeah,
it's like if you're not in the arena, like don't like you have nothing. Your opinion doesn't matter. If you're not in the arena, getting your ass kicked, I'm not interested in your feedback. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And it's so true. And I remember when her Netflix special was so great. And when she said that, I was like, God, yes. Why do I feel it does, it hurts. I used to be so like every little comment, was just like, with like a little jab at me, a little stab, a little paper cut, but like one paper cut doesn't do much, but like 1,000 and you'll like bleed to death. Right. But I remember thinking, I'm out here, you're out here, we're sharing our story, we're being vulnerable. And you're right, we'll find our people, the people that'll cheer for us and root for our success. And that's another thing, because it's a double-edged sword, because then if you're not successful, then what? Then you're not worth following or worth this because you're not an expert in your field. You know what I'm saying? It's like you have to be successful to gain the trust and the notoriety to do this. So it's like, yeah, I think the healthiest boundary is just to be like, I'm not going to make everyone happy. Like accepting I am not for everyone.
And I actually have a hoodie that says "I'm not for everyone." I love it.
Yeah, that was a big one for me, because you know me, I want people to like me. I'm like a Labrador. Like if I was a dog, I'd be a Labrador. Like
faithful, loyal, fun-loving. You just want to be liked.
I need a lot of attention, like really high energy.
I would be a pit bull, like loving. It's all in how you're raised. Super misunderstood, has a bad rap.
All right, I see that for sure.
But like loyal and loving and just misunderstood, But kind of going back to the Brene Brown thing, her work really helped me shift my whole mindset. Like if you look at my books, I quote her all throughout my books, and someone like, because I really hit the mindset piece hard, even in Craveable, which God, I can't believe it's been out in the world for over 2 years now. And then again in Dairy Free. So I quoted her a lot because she really helped me make the mindset shift that I needed, and to help me set up those like time and space barriers that I was talking about, like to create those boundaries for myself in terms of my emotional well-being, because that's like a whole different level. I said, setting clear, I talked about this in my book too, like setting clear and concise boundaries of what you will and will not accept for yourself. And a lot of that I got from like her talks on shame and worthiness. And so just like knowing my own worth and refusing to let shame creep in the areas where they used to allowed me to really kind of step up and stick up for myself and just say, I will not take this. I won't take this anymore. And through that, like through establishing what I will and will not accept through the form of nonverbal boundaries, just through my actions, and like going on and like really kind of going on a tear on social media, or, just saying like what I will and will not accept, I'm like happier, and I've weeded out a lot of those people. Like I just had a conversation with you recently where I'm like, I think I finally weeded out all the riffraff, and I think my Instagram might be full of my people now. Right. Like I'm getting far, and that's by just showing them I will not accept this and weeding them all out.
Right. No, I 100%. New people are always like, well, how do you deal with that? I'm like, when I started sharing more nutrition stuff and not just recipes on my feed, I got people who didn't like it. They were like super bored with my nutrition talks. And then when I share like body positive stuff, like I've told you, I always get unfollowed. It's so crazy. If I share like a full, like anytime I share a message that's like self-love or body positivity, people unfollow, which again, I'm like, then go, because you're not my people. I agree. It's about really, because that's it. When you live your truth and you're in your integrity, and I think having healthy boundaries and telling the world, like, this is what I will accept, this is what I will not, and this is for my own well-being, you're going to really attract the kind of relationships that fill your cup. that do you good, that aren't draining you, but yet lifting you up.
Mm-hmm.
For
Yeah.
sure.
And I mean, it's a lot of work. Like sometimes it feels like a full-time job all in itself, but it's rewarding because I can feel how much I've grown in terms of, like I said, how small my circle is in everyday real life, like keeping those friends close and like no small talk, no just acquaintance level relationships. Like if I let you in, we go deep, like it's what happens. And then online, just sharing openly and abundantly, but being like, no, you cannot treat me this way. Bye. And it's wonderful. It's exhausting, but it's wonderful. And it feels like a full-time job sometimes, but there's lessons in every single part of it. And I feel that growth as a person. And I feel like if you stop growing and learning, you're basically just dead. And so like, I'm never done. There's no finish line in life. There's no finish line in being a better person. There's no finish line in leveling up who you are as a person.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. On that note, we're going to cut it before we make this a 2-hour podcast. Kyndra, tell everybody where they can find you, please.
Peace, love, and low carb all around the web. I mean, all roads, if you type in peace, love, and low carb, are going to lead to me, or at least they should. peaceloveandlowcarb.com and peace, love, and low carb on Instagram. Peace, love, low carb on Twitter. I have my other secondary blog, which is KyndraHolley.com. There's a lot more lifestyle stuff on there, like DIY, chemical-free home, just, more emotional wellness stuff on there. So yeah,
It's
all
so
around.
good. Yeah, and on Instagram too, at Kyndra Holley, she's always doing like awesome makeup tutorials and showing you how to do like your own home cleaners and like really amazing stuff with essential oils. And it's really fun to watch. Plus like all her amazing dogs and her pup and John, and just their awesome life. They travel a lot. It's so fun to follow. So yeah, thanks so much for being on the show, girl.
Thanks for having me.
I'm sure we will talk on the phone like in an hour. Everybody listening, it is March 1st today, which means that Made Whole, Made Simple is in stores March 10th. Make sure you have pre-ordered your copy or you're going to meet me on tour. All the links in the show notes. Made Whole, Made Simple. Cannot wait. Let's do this. Bye.